Hey, Terry, welcome to Saturday, my friend. How are you feeling?
Oh, feeling pretty good today. Yeah, things are going great.
I know your 49ers play not too far north of me today in Green Bay, about 4 hour drive from where I am. It's going
Yep.
to be, as you said, cold as hell.
Yeah, it is.
Could be tough for teams to beat the team that got a 1 week bye. But before we get to the game tonight, Terry, we got some horse racing to cover, some stakes races specifically. We'll be covering 5 of them.
Okay.
2 at Aqueduct. We'll be covering the JAZIL Stakes, race 7, the Franklin Square Stakes in race number 8. Then we're going to head on over to Fairgrounds for the Silver Bullet Day Stakes, race number 11, race number 12, the Colonel E.R. Bradley Stakes, and then we'll ship ourselves a little bit down south towards Arkansas, provided they don't cancel down in Hot Springs because it's 35 degrees and too cold for those folks down there. But we'll be doing the American Beauty Stakes at Oaklawn Park. If you're interested in some of the other races today, Terry did race number 8 as his best bet over at Fairgrounds. You can catch that on horseracingtoday.net. You can also, for the LeCompte and the Louisiana Stakes, we covered that with jockey Aubrey Green in this weekend's The Player's Edge on Thursday. You can catch all that and our picks again over at horseracingtoday.net. And on the LeCompte, there's a new face in town, and his name is Chris Pomerleau. He wrote all up about the LeCompte Stakes, so take a look at that. We got some video in there of all the 3 main competitors that he likes. So we got you covered from the beginning of the day to the end of the day, and Terry and I are kind of filling in the blanks with the Aqueduct races, 2 more at Fairgrounds and 1 at Oaklawn Park. How does that sound, Terry?
It sounds really good.
Got a lot of stuff covered and a lot of ground to cover, so you ready to get cooking?
I'm ready. Let's get going.
All right. So the first race on the day that we're going to cover is the JAZIL Stakes. That's over at Aqueduct. It's 1 1/8 miles on their main track, Terry. And so far at Aqueduct, they have run 15 races at the distance. 9 of them, Terry, were won by speed. 5 of the 15, so a third of them, went wire to wire, Terry. And if you look at the post positions, there is a slight outside to inside bias. And as we like to do, Terry, with these Saturday races, take a little bit more in-depth look at what the early pace and what the late pace looks like. So according to my calculations, when you look at the early pace figures, this is how the race could break down early on. Splice, the main brace, that horse has a pretty good early pace advantage over Empty Tomb, Core Conviction, and First Constitution. And then on the way home, Terry, Forewarned has a little bit of an edge over the next 4, 12-Volt Man, Empty Tomb, First Constitution, and why? Why? Paul, why? Everybody wants to know why, Paul.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
That's right.
for sure. So, and we do on Saturdays, we like to show you what the speed figure, what I call stock candlestick chart, looks like. And as you can see here, Terry, it looks to me like the 7 horse is the one that has the highest ranking in terms of its average speed rating, and then with the top and the bottom. So hopefully that helps you a little bit kind of visualize what the race might look like in terms of who might be able to accomplish what and what their typical race looks like. So let's run down the field, Terry, starting with horse number 1, Why Paul Why. What do you like about Why Paul Why, and why do you like what you like about Why Paul Why?
Well, first
that's a lot of whys.
Yeah. First of all, my brother-in-law's name is Paul, so not Why, but Paul.
Mm-hmm.
and
maybe he's the one asking why.
That's true. But I really like this horse. This horse has won 4 in a row at Parks, and he's got the a good sharp workout at Parks January 14th. Best out of 19. So.
Yes, indeed. Looking at this horse, I'm not a big fan of that Parks to Aqueduct angle, Terry, though it did run once at Churchill Downs in the last 10 races. Didn't do particularly well. Had a strong bullet workout on January the 14th, so maybe this horse is one that can find its way into the winner's circle. It's going to have to show some early pace and maybe hold some folks off. First Constitution, Terry, started its career down in Chile. Did very well down there. Came to the United States, kind of struggled out of the gate, and since seems to have found its footing. Hasn't found the winner's circle yet, but was the favorite last out for Todd Pletcher, and he rebounds at a hefty 26%. Do you think that it can make it to the winner's circle today?
Well, he's a really good possibility. He finished second in his last race at Aqueduct. And Todd Fletcher wins 26% of the time when bringing a beaten favorite back. He has the best dirt speed among today's starters and a really sharp workout on January 14th.
For sure. And looking at those last fractions, though, they were a little bit slower than I would like for them to be, considering he shortened up from a mile and a 16th to a mile. But I do expect they should be one of the performers. That workout on January 14th was sharp. Splice the main brace, Terry. Is a horse that's
scratched.
1-2. It's scratched. Okay, good. That makes it easy
And
for me, right?
empty tomb is also scratched.
So we got 2 scratches in here today. All right.
We do,
Terry.
yeah.
That means it's a very short field. Number 5, Core Conviction. 1-2 in a row. Made it easy, Terry.
Yes. Yeah. Well, this horse is trained by high win percentage Chad Brown. The trainer wins 27% of the time on non-graded stakes that he enters his mounts in. And the horse has won 2 races in a row at Aqueduct. So I think, it's going for a hat trick. And Chad Brown in the last 14 days has finished the money 4 out of 6 times, winning 2 of those. There's a sharp workout on January 14th.
Number 6, 12-volt man, Terry, has some of the dropping in class from 125,000 to 100,000 last time. You got Joseph Safi Joseph Jr., who does pretty well down in the South Florida area. And when you look at this horse, Terry, it's an all or nothing. Won 4 out of 7 races, 4 out of 5 of them on a fast track. So if the track is a little off, might not be its favorite footing. Coming in off of a break, shipping up from Gulfstream Park. Can it take its talents from South Beach to New York?
Well, as you said, it's an all or nothing horse. It's won 4 out of 7 races and hasn't placed anywhere else. It did win its last race at Gulfstream in December. Workouts are average, so at least the last one is. So that's about all that I can say about it. It's got a good trainer. So,
Race horse number 7 is Forewarned, Terry. What do you think? What do you like about Forewarned?
Well, this horse won its last race at Aqueduct, and he got 101 speed rating, which was an increase over the race before. His last speed rating was the best in the bunch here. And his best dirt speed is faster than the average winning speed. He has a really sharp workout on January 13th. So I think you better be forewarned.
Yeah, he does have the ability to run some fractions, but he also looks like he's one of the horses, Terry, that's going to be coming on late at the end. So in this shallower field where the 4 and the 5 are scratched, Terry, how do you rank them?
Well, because the 4 and 5 are scratched, I think it changed the race a lot. I'm going to take number 1, Why, Paul, Why, as my first choice. And then I'm taking First Constitution as my second choice, number 2. And then number 5, Core Conviction, is my third choice. And then, of course, number 7, Be Forewarned. So
okay, so number let's see. So the 3 and the 4 are scratched, right?
Yes.
All right, so I'm going to start with number 5, Core Conviction is my top selection, followed by number 2, First Constitution, and then number 7, Forewarned, and then finally Why, Paul, Why. So 5, 2, 7, and 1 for me in the JAZIL Stakes. The next race we're going to take a look at, Terry, is race number 8 at the Aqueduct. That's the Franklin Square Stakes, Terry. This one is 6.5 furlongs on the main track. If we look at 6.5 furlongs so far, Terry, there have been 29 races, Terry. In those 29 races, 20 were won by speed. 11 went wire to wire. Most of the winners came from posts 4, 5, 6, and 7. But if you look at the 1, 2, 3, and 8, they all win at similar rates. So if we take a quick glance at who's going to be coming out of the gate first, you can see here, Flip My ID. I think number 10 is scratched, if I remember correctly.
It is.
In this race. Yes. Yeah. That is Captain's Daughter, I think is the name of that horse.
Yes.
And then, so as far as early pace, the 5 does have a little bit of an advantage over the 4, the 6, the 9, and the 3. That's going to be the second wave. They're a couple steps behind. The interesting thing to me, Terry, looking at this in the terms of the late pace on the way home, they all kind of take one step down from each other. There's not like a group. So the 7-horse Moan is just a little bit quicker in the late pace than well, Captain's Daughter who scratched, but then Sterling Silver, it's a little bit quicker than Thinking It Over, is a little bit quicker. There's not a big group there. And if you look at how their speed figures crack out, it looks to me, well, you could see the 2 and 3 horse really only won one race so far, but their numbers are better than what basically the 3, the 4, the 5, and the 8 have been able to put on paper, or the 9 in terms of their average race. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of interesting to me. It looks to me like the 2 or the 3 could have an advantage over the rest of the field. So looking at this one, Sandy Garden making its second start, Terry, that the third start, that second start wasn't very good.
No. Well, this horse could improve while returning to a sprint, and it does have the best dirt speed, fastest among today's starters. So,
all right, yeah, that last race, like does got some early pace figures there, Terry, coming in from Belmont. Looking at the workouts average since the last time out, I don't like that big fade, but I do look at that debut where it won by 20 lengths as the 75-cent favorite. So I wonder which horse we're going to get today. It'll be interesting to see which one shows up.
That's true. So.
Race horse number 2 is Sterling Silver, Terry. It won its debut with Trevor McCarthy, our guest from Wednesday's night. Horse Center. If you haven't watched that yet, go ahead and check that out. Trevor's been on fire, Terry. Can he carry that heat again today?
Oh, yeah. He's won 6 out of 23. He's been in the money 15 times in the last 23 races. So that's, he's done really well. And, of course, this horse has, a mediocre workout at Belmont. And it's 1 for 1. So far, perfect.
Number 3, Thinking It Over, Terry's also 1 for 1 so far, perfect. And it did so as the 2-1 favorite last time out. Looks to me like this horse has got some mediocre workouts since the last race, but could be one of the horses to beat, Terry, in this race with Dylan Davis in the irons.
Yeah, I agree with that. The trainer's been really hot lately. Last 14 days, he's having 7 entries, 4 wins, and 2/3.
Race number 4, horse number 4, Thin Legs, Terry. They don't really carry you too far if you're in the horse racing business. The horse is going to be a 30-1 morning line. Probably going to go up from there. Won its debut nicely at Finger Lakes. Next time out at Finger Lakes in a $50,000 non-graded stakes race. Kind of backed up a little bit and got beat pretty handily.
Oh, yeah. By Silver, by Sterling Silver. Mm-hmm. And this horse, one of the positive things is that the trainer wins 21% of the time when he ships a horse in, and the early running style could help this horse's chances, although he's not somebody that I have on my picks. So.
Number 5, Flip My ID, Terry, is another horse that's long odds with Manny Franco. Just switched agents recently from Angel Cordero. That last race out, Terry, did show some really, really strong early pace numbers. Did so at really long odds. It was like 79-1-ish, Terry, making this switch from turf to dirt to 18% winner for trainer Michael Maker. Do you think it's enough to get over the odds that it's been running at?
I'm not really sure it is. It'd be interesting to see how it does on the dirt. It's got Manny Franco in the irons, and like Michael Maker is the trainer, who's a really good trainer, winning at a 20% clip at this meet. So one of the negative things, it hasn't raced for a couple of months, and the workouts are kind of mediocre.
And then Lilo, Terry, the 6 horse. It's a $150,000 horse. What do you say about Lilo?
Well, Lilo won the last race it ran at Aqueduct and won pretty easily, and it increased its speed rating by quite a bit. And and it has a good jockey in Kendrick Camouche, so it's got a chance.
And I really like what it did in terms of its early pace numbers. They really, the 2 furlong numbers and the 4 furlong numbers really took a major step forward, Terry, in the last race. So, and then since then, it's had a couple of maintenance workouts. The one on January the 9th was nice, breezing 13th fastest out of 189 at 4 furlongs, and then came back on January 16th of 16. Obviously, David Dugan wasn't pushing the horse, just trying to keep it sharp, it looks like to me. Number 7 is Moam, Jose Lescano, Horacio De Paz as the jockey trainer combo. also won its debut, but Jose Ortiz was in the irons then. Does the jockey switch help or hurt?
I don't think it hurts. I think it's just, I think they're pretty good jockeys, both of them. And I'm impressed with this horse. It won at Saratoga, which I think is kind of a hard thing to do to start with. And it won it pretty nicely, pretty easily. So, and it's got a really good workout at Belmont on January 16th. He was the 8th best out of 47. So, yeah, this is a horse that you need to keep your eye on.
Number 8, Meraviglio. It's also a horse that won its debut, Terry, at Aqueduct. That was on December the 9th. It's come back to put in quite a few workouts since then, 3 of them for a total of, looks like to me, 12 furlongs. They were best slowish in terms of workouts, Terry, but the horse was well bet in its debut. James Ferraro brings the horse back off the maiden win, something he's followed up with another win, just 1 in the last 20 races. Can he make it 2?
Well, like you say, won in debut race and was well bet in that race. So people had idea the sorts to do very well. It's coming back, after taking a little bit of a break. And I think this horse, it'd be interesting to see how it runs on a fast track, since that was a muddy track where it went.
Is the track listed as fast today?
I haven't even looked, to tell you the truth.
Okay, let's look real quick to see how the track is listed.
Yeah.
In the meantime, tell us what you like about horse number 9, Terry.
Okay, number 9.
She's a wild joker.
She is a wild joker. She has the highest race speed rating. She finished 3rd in her last race, and her best dirt speed is fastest than the average speed in here. And I don't know. There's not much more that I see that gets me all excited. So
the track is listed as fast on the dirt, Terry, today. So
okay.
that is the condition today. So she's a wild joker, Terry. This is a horse that's got the top pedigree in the field for sure. Yeah. And it has some of the in its 5 races, it's produced the fastest quarter-mile fraction that any horse in this field has been able to gather up. And on top of that, Terry, the horse has done 4 consecutive speed figure increases. So she's a wild joker, could be one that is a wild card in terms of getting itself into the winner's circle. So how do you think they're going to line up when they hit the wire, Terry?
Well, I like the number 2 horse, Sterling Silver, with Trevor McCarthy. I think that horse is going to win this race. And then I like the number 3 horse, Thinking It Over. And then my 3rd pick would be number 7, Moan. Like that horse quite a bit. And then I like the 9. She's a wild joker.
Yes, for me, Terry, I'm putting Thinking Over on top. That's the 3 horse, followed by number 2, Sterling Silver in the place position. Lilu might show, and then She's a Wild Joker cleans up the superfecta for me, Terry, in race number 8 at the Aqueduct race course. The next race we're going to pop off to, Terry. Hold on one second here. And never mind. Got some of those Russian bots hitting us up with some things again, Terry. I don't know what all that's about. So
I don't either. It makes no sense.
The race number 11 is the next spot for us, Terry. We're hopping on over to Fairgrounds. Like I said, if you're interested in the LeConte or the Louisiana Stakes, we have them covered with Aubrey Green in the Players Edge podcast. So you can head on over to our YouTube channel, which is Racing Radar TV. Mm-hmm. You can make sure you like us while you're there, subscribe while you're there. We just hit 800. And as such, Sean going to give away on Monday night when we do our Horse Center show, Terry, a signed picture of Mike Smith on Justify. And then on Tuesday night, Terry, on top of that, not only are we giving away a Mike Smith picture, but on Tuesday night, Mike Smith will be our guest on the Horse Center show. So we're going to talk a little Kentucky Derby with Mike and talk a little bit about the horse that he's going to be on, maybe in the Kentucky Derby Trail, Corniche. We'll see how that all plays out.
Yeah, it sounds like a really exciting show. I'm looking forward to that.
Should be a lot of fun, Terry.
Yep.
So race number 11, Terry, at the Fairgrounds, the Silver Bullet Day Stakes has been 1 mile and 70 yards. There have been 28 of these races so far, Terry. 17 of them were won wire to wire, Terry. 28 races, 17 won by speed, excuse me. 8 won by wire to wire. And just kind of quick checking the scratches here. It does look like there's a little inside out bias, Terry. So in race number 11, as it stands now, there are no scratches.
Correct.
So the first horse is Fanny and Freddie, the one horse. What do you think about the one horse?
Okay, as far as the one horse goes, he has the highest last speed rating. Actually tied with another horse. Ran second in the last race, and best start speed is fastest among today's starters. Again tied. Has a sharp workout on January 14th, and at that workout was 48 for furlongs.
So this horse, Terry, has got 3 consecutive speed figure increases, showed really dramatic improvement in its last race for its fractions, both at the quarter mile marker and at the half mile marker and at the 6 furlong marker. So I like that. The jockey trainer combination of Colby Hernandez and Albert Stahl Jr., both are winning at a pretty good rate. So solid jockey trainer combo. Horse looks like it's rounding in form, probably one that you're going to have to contend with. Berna Breezy, Terry, is Berna Breezy yet another that you have to contend with?
Yeah, it is. Yes, this horse has a high percentage winning trainer, and it's had trouble in both of its races in its career. First race, it lunged at the start. It was 6 wide the quarter, and then last time it was slow at the start, but he still won last time. This is a horse that appears to me that's not out of the gate all that quickly and needs to close. So,
yeah. So speaking of not out of the gate all that quickly, Terry, let's take a look at how they're going to come out of the gate in this race. So it looks to me like number 5, Lacrete, is the fastest out of the gate, Terry, and has a pretty substantial advantage over Fanny and Freddie. And then you said, as you mentioned, that Berna Breezy better have some giddy up and go at the end of the race, Terry. And according to the late pace figures, Berna Breezy does have plenty giddy up and go. He's got that locomotive legs, Terry, wants to run late.
yep.
As far as their speed figures are concerned, Terry, you can see the 4 and the 5, they've only won 1 race before. So Sweet as Pie, or 2 races, excuse me, and the Crete, it's only 1 run race. They both were pretty similar for the 4 horse and the Crete, but they're both of those numbers are considerably higher than what the 1, 2, or 3 have put on paper, and it's certainly better than what the 6 has put on paper. Let's look at the 3 horse now, Terry, and that's Miss Chamita. Is Miss Chamita going to be Miss Champion?
Well, this horse has got, excuse me, more experience than any other horses, but it's only one race out of 9 races, and it's the positive thing is that the trainer wins 25% of the time when it goes to a non-graded stakes. It did have a good workout in October, and then one that's a little bit average in November, and I don't understand why there's not any more recent workouts. So it's not a horse that I'm really picking for my picks. So
the one thing about Miss Chamita, Terry, at her best, she can run some pretty fast fractions, but we haven't seen her best in many, 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 many races. So she's going to have to revert back in form to have any opportunity to cash a ticket here. Sweet as Pie is the 4 horse, Terry, started its career at Belmont, first 2 races up north in New York, taking the trip down to Louisiana. And is that trip down going to be one that ends up profitable?
Well, it switches to a really high percentage winning jockey, Laurent Gros, and Todd Fletcher trains the horse, which is pretty good. Has the highest last speed rating, tied with one of the other horse. And the best start speed among today's starters also tied. It won its debut at Belmont, 6.5 furlongs, and then it came back and ran 4th by 4 3/4 in the next race. So we'll just have to see how it does here. It's actually extending, and it's out in the distance, and that might work out for it. So.
Yeah, the horse has been well bet in both races too, Terry, and has tied for the top pedigree with the 5 horse, Lacrete. So I'd expect that you'll see this horse do well. It did make a slight increase in terms of its speed number from race 1 to race 2. I'm a little concerned that the early pace numbers kind of backed off a little bit between the 2 furlong and the 4 furlong, though stretching out, we did see a little bit of movement higher on the late pace numbers, which Sweet as Pie will need a little bit more late legs in order to get the job done running a little longer. Lacrete is a 3-year-old filly making its second start after debuting running once as a 2-year-old at Churchill Downs. Did win that race, made in $120,000 start, Terry, and kind of got on the lead, never was really challenged, and it was a pretty good favorite, I think at about 8-5.
Yeah, it was the heavily bet debut, and it did win that race pretty easily. And it was a 1.16 miles, so we know it can go that distance. And it has a maintenance workout on January 9th.
Number 6, as we mentioned, as we were looking at the chart with the speed figures, it seems to be a cut below all of the other horses in this field, the Candy Ray, Terry. Yeah. Although it did win its last race at Delta Downs, do you think that it can find some enough improvement to catch any of the inside 5 horses?
No, I don't think it can. I tell you the truth, the workouts have been kind of mediocre, and I think this horse is a little bit over its head.
I agree with you, Terry. I think that the horse is over its head. But if there's anything that's any sort of grace for that horse, Terry, it does have the ability to run some fast fractions, and a jockey trainer combo hasn't done that poorly. So perhaps the connections and a little bit of early speed last time out is a indication of reversal of form. And sometimes when horses reverse form, they tend to run well for maybe a 2-3, maybe on the outside, a 4-race stretch. So let's see if it can make it 2 races in a row. How are you going to make your picks? How are you going to line this group up in the Silver Bullet Day Stakes, Terry?
Well, my first pick is number 5, Lacrete. I like that horse quite a bit. And then I like number 1, Fanny and Freddie. And then let's see, number 2, Berna Breezy is my third pick. My fourth pick is Sweet as Pie.
I'm going to go with number 2, Berna Breezy, as my top selection. Like I mentioned, improved big time from the debut and has some really good late pace numbers. Lacrete, on the other hand, is the other side of that equation. So if pace does make the race, and Lacrete is not pressured up front, has the top early pace figures by a wide margin. So it's either going to be the one that's on the front that gets away with light fractions, or it gets pushed and then the closer comes home. So that's how I see the race playing out. Fanny and Freddie will be coming in right behind with those increasing speed figures, stepping up the performance ladder. And Sweet as Pie is the one to finish out the superfecta for me, Terry. As you mentioned, this is a horse that did tie for the top last race speed figure, but did so also tying for the highest pedigree score. So I like that as well. Race number 12 at the fairgrounds is the I don't know why I want to keep saying Colonial. It's Colonel E.R. Bradley Stakes, Terry. This one is 1.16 miles on the main track, Terry. And if you look at this race, Terry, race number 12, the number 1 and the number 5 have been scratched. So Logical Myth is out, as well as Major Fed, both scratched by their trainers. Not quite sure why they were scratched. They didn't give an explanation for that as yet. So let's just make sure that they're running on the turf at Fairgrounds, Terry.
Yeah. I don't know if they're or not.
Says the turf is rated as good. So yes, indeed, It looks like they are going to run on the turf over there. We're not going to start with the 1 horse, Logical Myth. We're going to start with the 2 horse. But before we do that, let's talk a little bit about what a race might look like at 1.16 miles on turf, Terry. They've only run 4 of them so far, so not a whole lot of them. Half of them were won by horses that showed speed. The other half were won by closers. 1 of the 4 went wire to wire, Terry. And with only 4 races, it's impossible to really get a sense of what the post positions will be like. But we do know how the horses will likely come out of the gate and how they'll close. And interestingly here, Terry, coming out of the gate, again, looking at how these horses perform with their early pace numbers, you see that each horse is distinctly different than the other one all the way down the ladder. So Dynamite is a little bit quicker out of the gates than Cavalry Charge, who's a little bit quicker out of the gates than Bodie Cream. And those Bodie horses are always kind of fast.
Oh, yeah.
And then on the way home, 2 Emmys, Terry, is got a considerable pace advantage over Bodie Cream. And then the 3 and the 4, Cavalry Charge and Own Agenda, should be right behind them in terms of early pace. And if we take a look at their race patterns over the last 10 starts or so, you get a sense of what their top speed figures are like. That's the top of the bar there. What their average speed figure is like. That's that big fat red dot in the middle. and then what their worst performance looks like, which is the bottom of the line there. So just looking at this, Terry, it looks to me like the 6 horse is the one that's the most consistent in terms of its peaks and valleys, and then that's 2 Emmys and its ability to run a good race overall.
All right.
So horse number 3, Terry, horse number 2 is now the rail horse. That is hello again, Terry, as my grandmother used to say. She wouldn't say hello. She said, hello.
Hello. That's pretty cute.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I like this horse on the turf. The first time it ran at Fairgrounds on the turf, it won. So it was perfect at Fairgrounds at 1 for 1. And I like it. It kind of looks to me like this horse can either go on top or come from close off the pace. So I like that. It's a good trait for me.
You like those versatile horses for sure.
I
Terry.
do. Yeah.
This is a horse, Terry, that it looks to me like if it's going to make it, if it's going to be dangerous for everybody else in this field, Hello Again is one that's going to have to be up near the front. And fortunately for Hello Again and Joel Rosario, although I do like Joel on horses that come from off the pace, but Joel is one of those jockeys, we've been talking about the clock in the head. He seems like he knows when to time the move almost perfectly. So I do trust Joel. I feel like this is a horse that needs to be near the front. I think Joel will have the horse forwardly placed and then try to make that late move to get the horse home. And it's 4 start off a layoff. The 3 horse is Calvary Charge. It's won 2 in a row, 3 out of the last 4 races, Terry. And it's another one that has the ability to get near the front. What do you think it's going to do in its first start since October the 8th?
Yeah, I think it's going to do pretty well, I'll tell you the truth. It stayed, it's going to stay, I think, mid-pack or close to the front. It has a really good workout on January 14th at Fairgrounds, 1 minute and 1 breezing. Second best out of 46, and it's 3 out of 4 this year, as you said, or for last year, I mean, which is a pretty good statistics. So.
Mm-hmm. The horse certainly seems to like the distance. Terry ran it 3 times, managed to win 2 of them, and come home 3rd on the other one. Own Agenda, I forget which ones did I say were scratched again. I should have written them down.
Major Fed is scratched, the 5.
Yes, the 1 and the 5. Okay, so
yeah.
So looking at Own Agenda, Terry, this one's 3/4 of a length from winning 2 in a row. Second start off a layoff. Horse should improve in the second start off a layoff. If not, shouldn't run any worse than it did last time.
Yeah, and it likes to close. Yeah, I think it closes from a little bit deeper. Although if you go back to June and April, it was pretty close to the front. The horse has a good workout on January 15th, 48 flat breezing, second best out of 123 horses. And Colby Hernandez has been riding pretty well at this track. So I think it has a good shot.
As we said, number 5, Major Fed, is scratched. 2 Emmys, Terry. It's a horse that's run 3 consecutive speed figures that have topped triple digits. It is simply 2 necks away from winning the last 3, including a big upset over a horse that many thought might be the best American turf horse in domestic spending. Yeah. Only horse that ran a speed figure over par for this group, and it's done it 3 races in a row.
Yeah, it loves to be on top. And, I think it's going to have a little problem in this race. I think it's going to do very well, but it's going to get pushed a little bit. So, but I think it's got the stamina to hold off everybody. It has a good workout on January 6th. And I like James Graham as a jockey. So,
yeah, when we looked at the speed figure, like the early pace numbers, Terry, on that chart, actually, I was shocked because I expected to see 2 Emmys near the front. And actually, 2 Emmys is almost near the bottom. That last race out was pretty solid, though, Terry, when it ran a very fast opening fractions of a half mile and 49 and 2 in a 1.5 mile race. So I wonder if domestic spending is one of those horses where the jockeys just do enough to get the horse to the lead without actually really pressing that horse, which is, I think, why you see such a big variance in its early pace numbers. Excess Magic has Reylu Gutierrez, who's been really like on fire jockey in late part of 2021, early part of 2022. Been on Excess Magic for the last 2 races and managed to win both of them.
Yeah, well, won 3 out of 4 races, out of the last 4 races, and has a high percentage trainer, high percentage jockey. Won its last race at Fairgrounds, and the jockey in the last 7 days, as we talked about prior, has won 6 out of 21, been in the money 14 times. So,
Yeah, and Ray Lou and Brett Calhoun together win at about 38%. And I also like the fact that this horse is stepping up the performance ladder with 3 consecutive speed figure increases. Marnock's Glen was a tough one for me, Terry, the 8 horse, because it closes and it closes and it closes. And it's always close at the end. It's tantalizing, right? That this
yes.
horse is so close, and this is going to be the time it gets it done. It's making its third start off a layoff, Terry. The last 3 race cycle, all 3 races were pretty similar. My concern here is, Terry, that you got a lot of closers in this race. You got some speed in this race. I'm worried about Monarch's Glen running into some traffic in this race and maybe having a hard time. But maybe because it has the top pedigree for the distance and surface, it can overcome any obstacles or traffic in its way.
Yeah, this horse doesn't break very well ever, so it's going to come from way back. It's got Joe Bravo in the irons, and I think like if you look at last year, it was in the money 7 out of 11 times. That's pretty good. Won 2 of those, but I think it's going to have a hard time here too because there's a lot of horses in here. It might get in trouble with some blockage or can't get out there. So.
Number 9 is Bodie Cream, Terry. Those Bodie horses tend to be Bodie fast. And this horse has run at Fairgrounds 3 times, has a couple of seconds and a third. It's failed to find the winner's circle, but it does seem to have a penchant for the distance, finishing in the money 6 of 7, 2 wins, 3 seconds, and a third. Coming off the bench, Terry, first race since December 5th. Last time the horse had a pretty similar break. The horse managed to win going 1 mile and an eighth. The time before that, coming off the bench, Terry, it also won. So looks to me like Bodie Cream is one of those horses likes to spend a little time in the barn, come back and run a solid race.
Yeah, the horse has a trainer that wins 24% of the time when it's won its last race, and he enters it in the next race. And it has a sharp workout on January 14th, 101, breezing third best out of 16 workouts. So it has a chance.
Number 10, Lucky Curlin, Terry. Does it have a chance?
I don't particularly like Lucky Curlin. I think it's way over its head. It's got, although last year it ran out of 4 races, it ran in the money 50% of the time and won one of those races. But I think this is I don't think this is a race that's going to work out for it. It's going to close again like a couple of the others.
Mm-hmm. Well, when I look at this horse, Terry, it seems to me that if you try to figure out how it can win, it's going to have to close. It's going to have to get probably a pretty fast pace, and it's going to have to outkick other horses that tend to have a stronger kick than it does. So I think Lucky Curlin needs a lot of things to go its way to find its way to the tape first. Dynamite. Remember that show?
I do, yeah.
Jimmy Walker?
Yeah, he's actually in a commercial that it's always on TVG. It's about, I guess, about Medicare B or something like that. So,
well, hopefully that, well, if you're watching the race on TVG, maybe they'll have the ad on in between races there. But Dynamite, Terry, hasn't run since October 28th. But when he did run the last 2 times, he won both times up on the front. And if you remember when we did the early pace numbers, Terry, Dynamite was the horse that did have the best early kick, best early speed out of the gate. That's the one that's going to giddy up and go and get on the gas. There you can see it again. Can he get on the gas, stay on the gas, and carry it from tape to tape?
Well, Corey Landry rode it last time and comes back to ride it again. And this horse has got a good workout January 15th, third best out of 41. Yeah, it could be there, but it's not somebody I'm going to choose as one of my horses. So it's going for a hat trick.
Final horse in this field, Terry, is 40 under. I guess that's like when you're really bad. Instead of putting you 6 feet under, they put you 40 under. Horse has only won once in its last 8 races in the last 2 years, has a couple of thirds in there as well. Doesn't seem to be in form at all, but the last race did show some really significant early pace in 2 furlong and 4 furlong improvement. I'm wondering if this is a horse in its third start off a layoff, Terry. That's one of those horses that's peaking and could cause some trouble and maybe be, if there is a long shot in this field, Terry, a long shot that gets it done.
Yeah, you're looking down the same road I was thinking. If you look at the first race to the second race and how much it improved in the speed rating, shows it's really racing into form. And it has a nice maintenance workout January 10th where it went 48 for breezing for 4 furlongs. So, yeah, this is a horse that you might want to, you may want to throw on an exotics if you have enough money.
If you have enough money, Terry, Lord knows that's not a problem for you. So how are you going to, how do you rank them, Terry?
Okay, I like the number 6, 2 Emmys is my first pick. And then I like number 7, Excess Magic is my second pick. Then Halo again, the number 2 is my third pick. And Broke Bodie Cream, number 9 is my fourth pick.
I think we settled on the same 4 horses, Terry. I have Hello again as my top selection. Did face up against some of these in the last race and managed to beat them all in her first effort at the fairgrounds. So this time around, I'm expecting a bigger effort. 2 Emmys. He's the only horse in this field to run a speed figure above par, and he's done it 3 races in a row. So if he just runs one of those races, 2 Emmys can make it difficult. I'm just curious what happens though if it doesn't get the lead. Excess Magic, the 7 horse, is my third selection. Knows how to win with 4 wins in 7 on the turf and owns the fastest quarter mile fractions out of any horse in this race. And finally, Bodie Cream has run well at fairgrounds, has run well at the distance. And again, those Bodie horses tend to be pretty fast, Terry. So I expect that you'll see a pretty good effort out of the Bodie Cream. The final race we're doing today, Terry, is race number 8 at Oaklawn Park, provided they don't cancel. Let's just real quick take a look at Oaklawn Park and see if there are any scratches in race number 8. I haven't had a chance to look at that yet.
Yeah, I don't see any scratches unless something's happened in the last 30 minutes.
So race number 8 looks like it's clean. There are no scratches, Terry. It is a 6 furlong race, Terry. They've run a lot of these 6 furlong races at Oaklawn Park. And, just from watching Oaklawn Park, Terry, you see when we watch it, especially on these days where there are a lot of stakes races, the track, as Matt Carruthers told us on the Players Edge podcast, tends to be souped up. So 96 races, Terry, 62 of those 96 were won by speed. Did not surprise me to see that at all. Of those 62 winners by speed, 27 of them went wire to wire, Terry. If you look at it, it is a fair track in terms of post position. You don't get any advantage where you are, although it does appear that there's a tiny, and I mean maybe a 1 or 2% difference if you get an outside post. If we look at how the horses could break out of the gates, Terry, number 6, Sarah Harper, and number 5, Abrogate, have the best early pace numbers, Terry, and they have a little bit of an advantage, pretty good advantage over Ain't No Elmers, who has a pretty good advantage over Wildwood's Beauty. On the way back home, Terry, Miss Mosaic has a good edge over number 8, Wildwood's Beauty, and Perfect Happiness. Those should be your fastest horses coming home. And if you just look at how the horses have run their races with their tops and their bottoms, you can see the one horse, Little Tootsie, has a really good range, could run exceptionally well, better put the best effort in along with the 3 horse out of any other horse in this field, but also has a pretty low floor too. So be on the lookout for a good and bad race out of that horse. And finally, number 8 looks like it's the one that's peaked, hit the highest average speed figure, Terry. So let's run down the field, starting with horse number 1, little Tootsie. Terry, what do you like about little Tootsie?
I like the fact that the trainer wins 22% of the time on a third race after a layoff. And this horse has won 2 in a row. The last one at Oaklawn Park has the highest speed figure at today's distance, and the best start speed is fastest among today's starters.
Yeah, I like the fact that this horse has come off the bench, Terry, and has won 2 consecutive races, and they haven't been close. The horse has kind of been patient, and then in the stretch really hit the jets, Terry. And when it hit those jets, just ran away from everybody. So I really do like what I saw there. it is a horse that knows where the winner's circle is, finding the winner's circle, getting that photo session in 5 of 11 races. But the interesting thing, Terry, is 4 of those wins came in 6 races at today's distance of 6 furlongs. So it's the right fit. Third start off a layoff. I think Little Tootsie is going to be one everybody has to contend with.
Absolutely. So
Joy's Rocket, Terry, making the second start off a layoff. The last race was kind of one of its worst in the last 10. I think it was its worst in his last 10. That despite the fact that it was the favorite in that race against quite a few horses. What are the odds that Joy's Rocket rebounds?
I don't think it's going to rebound, as far as I'm concerned. It's I think it's kind of got to run a couple more races. Although it was a muddy track when it ran last time. I don't know what the track's like today at this track, but it was, as you said, a beaten favorite. But it was beaten by most of the horses in this race. So I think they're going to do the same thing.
So right now, Oaklawn is listed as fast, Terry.
Okay.
But there's one thing about this horse that I would be concerned with if you look at Joy's Rocket. So you mentioned the last race was pretty bad. So first time off the start here, Terry, bombed, right?
Yep.
Next time out, huge response.
Yep.
Won. Last time at 6.5 furlongs on the Kentucky Downs grass, horse comes out of the gates after a layoff, bombs. Next time out, runs a really good race with some major improvement. First time off the bench, Terry, it bombs. If that cycle continues, I wouldn't be surprised to see Joy's Rocket show a nice rebound in this race. So we'll see.
It's a good angle you're pointing out there. So that's cool.
Well, I'm big on cycles, so I like to look back and see how horses have done under similar circumstances. But I grew up in the stock market world, and as the SEC lawyers say, past performance is no guarantee of anything. But I'll tell you this much, Terry. If I'm going to get an operation and the heart surgeon screwed up the last 20, I'm pretty convinced he's going to screw up the 21st as well. So past performance, I do think, has some bearing on at least future expectations, nonetheless.
I think you're right.
Ain't No Elmer's, Terry, tried turf last time for the second time in its career, the first time in its last 10 starts. And guess what? Ain't No Elmer's ain't no good on the turf, Terry.
No, it doesn't like it. So
does the return to dirt make it better?
Well, I don't know. It figures to improve wild to return into the dirt, and it has a highest speed figure at today's distance, and its best turf speed is the fastest among today's starters, actually tied with the number 1 horse, Little Tootsie. So
for me, Ain't No Elmer's, Terry, it's going to have to improve a lot. I don't see a similar cycle with this horse. Actually, I see kind of the reverse. In the third race, it does have a little bit of a history of maybe getting better, maybe not getting better. So I don't see anything consistency there. Based upon the numbers from the last race, Terry, I wouldn't be at all surprised to see the horse take a step back, because although it was running 5.5 furlongs on the fairgrounds turf, the fractions were much, much slower than they were probably should have been. So I don't know. I think that horse regresses even farther. Perfect Happiness, Terry, also face some of these. You see a lot of black letter type with this horse in front of it, sometimes behind it. 4 start off a layoff, Terry. Last time the horse ran a 4 start off a layoff, it actually was the best of the 4, slightly better than the third. Martin Garcia, Brad Cox, who's an excellent trainer. Can they get it done?
Yeah, this horse, it did have a little trouble last race, so it ran second. It's last year it ran in the money 4 out of 7 times, won one of those. It likes to run second, so I don't know. It's got average workouts.
Abrogate with Ricardo Santana Jr., Steve Asmussen, who's a hell of a trainer as well, making its third start off a layoff, Terry. Last time the horse made a third start off a layoff, it did win, but it slightly regressed from the previous race. It is following a similar pattern, though. In the first start at Oaklawn Park, it won. Second start, it finished second or third, ran in the money, but not on top, and then came back to win the third start off a layoff. Has a good record at Oaklawn Park, 2 wins, a second and a third. So I think Abrogate should be on towards the front of the pace, Terry. Does have a solid jockey. Can it win the third race and keep its record at both the distance and, at Oaklawn Park? Perfect.
Yeah, I think it's got a really good shot here. Ricardo Santana's rode this horse every single race that it's ridden. It's 50% winner out of 8 starts. Last year, it won 3 out of 7, was in the money 5 out of 7. And it, excuse me, I think it's set to maybe come back and repeat the November 11th race. So.
Sarah Harper, Terry, 2 races at Oaklawn Park, a win and a third. The last one was a win. Interestingly, Santana rode this horse last time. Stay gets off Sarah's Harper to ride the 5-horse. Abrogate to stay there. Do you think that's just, do you think he's making his pick, or do you feel like, because that horse has been the betting favorite in 4 out of 5 races so far, Terry, Sarah's Harper?
Yeah, I don't know that he's making the choice himself. I think that he writes for Steve F. Houston quite a bit. And since he had ridden the other horse 8 out of 8 times, I think that's the reason why. He had only ridden Sarah Harper 1 time. So Sarah Harper, the trainer does win 19% of the time when they go into a not graded stakes. And of course, this horse did win the last time out on a good track by going to the front and leading. But it's going to have to be really close to the front to do any damage in this race. So.
Yeah, I think it absolutely should be a part of the early pace, Terry, because it does have the fastest opening fractions that any horse has been able to run so far in their races. So I don't think speed's going to be an issue for Sarah Harper. Number 7 is Condora. This horse, Terry, has the top pedigree, also has some ability to go fast early. It's making its second start off a layoff. It's run at this Hot Springs track 3 times, managed to win 2 of them, finished 3rd in the other. And I think they were all at today's distance. So,
yeah, it was, and it likes the distance as it should. That's what you're saying, and it's eligible to improve after the second race after a layoff. And the jockey in the last 12 days has won 25% of his mounts, which is pretty good.
Number 8, Wildwood's Beauty, Terry, got another one that won up to the front last time to win a race. In the money 4 out of 5 at Oaklawn Park. In the money in 8 of 9 at the distance. So likes the track, likes the distance. Making a second start off a layoff, though, Terry. But the last 2 times the horse made a second start off a layoff, it regressed from its first time off a layoff. I expect the horse will probably contend, but maybe fade a little bit late. What do you say?
Well, I like this horse. The jockey trainer combination has been really hot last 14 days. They're 2 for 2. And the trainer is a high percent trainer, as we've said all along. This horse won last race at Oaklawn Park, and it's got a pretty decent workout on January 14th. So I think it has a really good chance to, and it's moving up in class. I like horses that are moving up in class.
The last horse of the day, Terry, is Miss Mosaic, the 9-horse, David Cabrera, probably the happiest person we've ever had on our show. Always smiling. Any interview you see, I think he's got a post-racing career in power of positive speaking as a motivational speaking guy. Looks to me like this horse really prefers the all-weather track than the dirt track or a turf track. Maybe he's got a shot, Terry. I think he's one of those horses where everything has to go right for David to find his way into a photo session.
Yeah, this horse likes to be bridesmaids. Ran second 3 times in a row. Matter of fact, ran second 8 out of 18, and last year 5 out of 10. So it doesn't quite want to win the race; just likes to run second. Has the highest last speed rating, and its best start speed is close to the average winning speed.
So how are you going to rank him, Terry?
All right, so I like the number 8 horse, Wildwood's Beauty, is my first choice. Then I like Abrogate, number 5, is my second choice. Then I like Joy's Rocket, number 2, is my third choice. And my fourth choice is Sarah Harper, number 6.
I am going to go with number 1, Lil Tootsie on top, Terry. There's a lot of speed in this race, Terry. This horse should be able to sit right off the pace and then show market improvement in his third start off a layoff. Sarah Harper has finished first 3 times or second 2 times. Third 2 times in her 5 career starts. And this horse should be one that's on the gas at the go, but doesn't necessarily need to be on the lead. Wildwood's Beauty, Terry, is my third selection. It's finished in the money, 8 of 9, as I mentioned. And I expect more in the second start off a layoff. And finally, it's a tough call between the 2-horse to me and the 5-horse Abrogate, but I'm going to go with Abrogate. It's never missed the board at Oaklawn Park. Seems to be a horse for the course, Terry, and I'm expecting it to keep its in the money record. Well, if it ran 4th, it'd be out of the money, but still collecting a check at the Oaklawn Park. So that wraps up our stakes racing for today, Terry. What's of all the races today, which one are you looking forward to the most?
I think let me see here. Actually, I like the race, the last race that we did, the 12th race at Fairgrounds. Mm-hmm. So I think that's going to be the most interesting one.
I want to I want to see the Kentucky Derby qualifier and see how that plays out as well, and with the with those horses there with Epicenter and Papa Cap and Cyberknife. Should be an interesting race. I'm interested to see how these 2-year-olds perform as they start to head towards the Kentucky Derby in just a few more months, the first Saturday in May. I'm looking forward to that, Terry. On Monday, you and I will be back. We're going to do our pick 4, I believe, at Mahoning Valley or maybe Turf Paradise. We haven't figured that out. Tuesday, we'll be doing our selections for parks. Wednesday, we'll be doing our selections at Gulfstream Park. And again, on Thursday, we'll be doing our selections at Aqueduct. Monday night, our guest is jockey Wesley Ho. Tuesday night, our guest is Mike Smith. Wednesday night on the Horse Center, our guest is the folks who run Past the Wire. So that should be a good show as well. And then, Terry, I think that's about it. Next week's guest, it's Pegasus Week for the Players Edge podcast is going to be Claudia Sapato from Gulfstream Park. So make sure you check that out. If you want to know when all that stuff is happening and you don't want to stick it on your calendar, the easy thing to do, Terry, is what?
Is going to our website and actually go to YouTube and subscribe on YouTube at,
Racing Radar TV. That's the YouTube channel.
Yeah. And then Twitter us at Horse Racing 2, the number 2 day. Like us on Facebook at Horse Racing, the number 2 day. And then you just need to go to our website, and it has everything there that you need to see. So,
the Twitter handle for both Facebook and Twitter, or the handle for both Facebook and Twitter is Horse Race Today. And then over at Racing Radar, I know a lot of different things, Racing Radar TV for YouTube. Just a bunch of different things came together into one, and we can't go back to YouTube and have them change the name. Can't go back to Twitter, have them change the name. And I know Sean has the Instagram account set up now. So go on over to Instagram and sign up for that as well. I think Sean will be posting up some pictures there. Before we go, Terry, today, I'm going to close the show today, so I hope you don't mind.
No, I don't mind.
There's some news yesterday that kind of bummed me out a little bit. As you grow up, you have some people that, music that you listen to, Terry. And as I'm growing older, a lot of those musicians, unfortunately, are starting to pass away.
Yeah.
And one of those musicians I spent a lot of time in my headphones was Meatloaf. I don't know if you listened to him or not.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. But it was sad for me to hear him go, Terry. And, it just, it's just one of those things that, when all those people start to go, it makes you feel like you're getting old yourself. And it makes me think, we have one trip around this track called life, Terry, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we have to do everything we can do to make the most of it, folks. I hope that you make the most of it. And Meatloaf, thank you for your music. May you be celebrating in heaven's winter circle. Terry and I will see you on Monday, 12 o'clock Eastern. Until then, everybody, please have a fantastic weekend.
See you later.